Good morning, everyone. My name is Amy Cavalier. I am a proud volunteer for the American Heart Association. We have with us over 50 dedicated ambassadors from across the Commonwealth who have come to advocate for policies that will lead to healthier lives and healthier communities. Our objectives center on 3 issues: ensuring high school students receive CPR training so lives can be saved, strengthening our clean indoor air law to safeguard workers from secondhand smoke, and protecting local control in public health policies. Today's press conference focuses on a passion of mine: training high school students in CPR. The reason is quite simple. I am a survivor of sudden cardiac arrest. Just over a year ago, I experienced a spontaneous coronary artery dissection, also known as SCAD, that led to a massive heart attack and cardiac arrest while getting my 3 young children ready for school. I received CPR for over 45 minutes to be brought back to life. I spent 8 days in a medically induced coma and fought through multiple setbacks that almost took my life again and again. And I am not alone. There are other survivors here today. If you have been saved by CPR, please stand or wave to be recognized. Good job. Thank you. The American Heart Association is a leader in educating and training the public in hands-only CPR. About 350,000 sudden cardiac arrests occur each year. Most happen outside of a hospital. This means the first person to respond to a sudden cardiac arrest will likely be a friend, a family member, or even a random passerby. It won't be an emergency medical professional. We know bystander CPR can double or even triple survival rates, but unfortunately, people don't know CPR or lack the confidence to do it. This is why only 10% of individuals that suffer from sudden cardiac arrest outside the hospital survive. To save more lives, we need to train more people in CPR. One common sense way to do this is by teaching CPR in high school. The American Heart Association has been at the forefront in advancing legislation that will do just that, ensuring all high school students receive CPR training at least once before graduating. When we started advocating for this policy in Pennsylvania in 2015, there were 22 states that passed a law. Look at the map now, just 3 years later. Through the American Heart Association's leadership and the powerful voices of our advocates, we are now up to 38 states. Do you notice anything about Pennsylvania? All the states surrounding us have laws on the books, as do most of the states on the East Coast. As a survivor, I'm upset and embarrassed by this map. There is absolutely no reason the legislature can't and shouldn't pass a CPR law. The time is now to add Pennsylvania to the growing list. The good news is our presence here today could not be more timely. The House and Senate are both in session today, and pending third consideration on today's Senate calendar is Senate Bill 521. This legislation will provide schools with the tools and flexibility they need to ensure students are trained in hands-only CPR before graduation. We are happy to have with us the sponsors of the CPR legislation, Senator Tom Killian and Representative Stephen Barrar. Senator Killian, let's start with you.
Thank you, and I'm pleased to be here, and I appreciate your advocacy on behalf of my bill, Senate Bill 521. As we just heard, we all know CPR saves lives. And what this bill will do, once it becomes law, will create an army of students from grades 9 to 12 that will be trained in CPR that can be there when an incident occurs. We were very fortunate the bill passed unanimously out of appropriations, unanimously out of education. It's now on the schedule for the Senate for final consideration, and then we'll ship it over to my good friend, Representative Barrar. And Steve and I work very close together. Small world thing. We grew up about, how many blocks, Steve? 3 blocks from each other in Glen Olden. So we're good friends, and we'll work together hard on this bill. But I think the one thing we have to accomplish, the one thing we have to get done, if you want to move for a little bit. That map represents the same color as my hair. We can't have that. We got to get that changed. Thank you for your advocacy. Look forward to passing Senate Bill 521.
Great.
Thank you, Senator. Representative Barrar.
Great, thank you. I wish I had his gray hair. Hey, I want to thank everyone for being here today. I'm Steve Barrar. I chair the House Committee on Emergency Preparedness. And one of the sayings in the emergency preparedness world is that hope is not a strategy. You have to have a plan. Now, our plan with Senator Killian and I is to teach our young people CPR. It doesn't just save lives, it makes those young people, that gives them superhero capabilities. That when you can save a life, you're a superhero. And that's the way I think we need to couch this to our young people to make it kind of fashionable for them to want to get involved with this. But CPR, there's no doubt about it, CPR saves lives. And of course, as I get older, you know, I'm praying that there's more and more people out there that understand how to do CPR and how to do it correctly. I can't imagine anything worse than being at a family dinner or being out in public or at a ball field, someone collapses to the ground and they're unconscious, and to stand there and say, oh my God, I hope somebody knows what to do, is the worst feeling in the world. To actually know how to dive in, to get into the action and be part of that action and be able to bring that person back to life. Your story was so compelling, about 45 minutes of CPR. That's just amazing. Talk about a superhero, you know? And I just wish we could instill that skill in everyone, and we all have that potential to become superheroes. So I thank you. I thank your volunteers, especially Cindy Flynn. Where's Cindy? Cindy's right here. Cindy is from my district, but she sends me so many emails and letters to ask me to get involved in these issues, and your support has always been so important to us all here. So thank you very much, and I want to thank all the volunteers that came out here today to help us with this task here. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. We appreciate your leadership and look forward to working with you to get this bill to the governor. I'm now pleased to introduce our keynote speaker, Paul Nuiadomi. Paul's here to share the importance of knowing and applying CPR from an EMT perspective. Paul?
Thank you, Amy. Good morning. My name is Paul Nuiadomi. I'm a lieutenant with the First Aid and Safety Patrol EMS of Lebanon. I also serve as a volunteer with the Ambulance Corps of the Newmanstown Volunteer Fire Company, and I am a cardiac arrest survivor. Oops. The current science for performing CPR is simple and easy. It utilizes hands-only compressions, pushing hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. It is a technique everyone should know and be confident in applying in the case of an emergency. I'm deeply thankful that my wife, Suzanne, and my daughter, Natasha, knew exactly what to do and carried it out quickly and efficiently. You see, I taught them both. My wife, who's with me today, is living proof that a well-trained 5'1.5" lady can deliver effective hands-only CPR on a 6'2", 200-pound man. Thank you, dear. Thank you. My story begins 17 months ago on Friday, October 7th, 2016. I was helping my daughter and her family move to their new house in the city of Lebanon. My daughter noticed I'd become very, very pale, and I was perspiring profusely while relaxing eating dinner. I thought I just had bad indigestion. My wife asked me what was wrong. Well, I felt like somebody had dropped molten lead right into the center of my chest. Pain was radiating up into my left jaw, down my left arm. Classic cardiac symptoms. A little voice in the back of my head was saying, "You are having a heart attack." This is strange for somebody who spends their whole working life tending to people. Everything went black. I collapsed. I was pulseless, not breathing. My wife, daughter, and son-in-law repositioned me from the chair onto the floor very quickly. My wife immediately began chest compressions. Natasha, she held my airway open so that I could breathe at the same time while they connected to the 911 operator. My own EMS unit, the people I work with every day, they arrived 4 minutes later. They found me on the floor with my wife performing CPR. Big change from my role. They took over. The EKG later revealed I was in a ventricular fibrillation. That's where the big muscles in the heart don't work properly. They just sit there trembling. I was clinically dead. I was defibrillated a total of 3 times, and luckily, I improved on the ride to the Good Samaritan Hospital in Lebanon. At the hospital, I received a CT scan, just to make sure that the back of my head wasn't cracked, and a catheterization revealed a 100% occlusion of the ramus artery, right in the middle of my heart. Thrombectomy was performed and 2 stents were placed, but my journey was not over yet. I underwent a second catheterization in November to open my other cardiac arteries, which were nearly equally as blocked. I am now the proud owner of 5 stents with the cleanest cardiac arteries this side of the Pecos. I was able to return to my EMS duties on December 19th, 2016, responding to calls with no neurological deficits. Now, the reason I was one of the lucky ones was all due to the quick thinking and quick action by a bystander, my wife. More amazingly, this was actually the first time she'd ever performed CPR on a human being. She'd always done it on a mannequin. And in the 15 years I've been an emergency medical technician, hundreds of times I've performed CPR. The survivors are the ones where a bystander recognizes what is going on and immediately begins CPR. Just 2 weeks ago, my colleagues and I responded to 2 cardiac arrests within 2 hours of each other. At the first scene, there was no bystander available to recognize what had happened and start CPR. Despite getting pulses back several times, that patient did not survive. The second call had bystanders present. For me as a professional, this was marvelous. They recognized what happened, they immediately began CPR. That patient survived. Immediate hands-on CPR performed by bystanders is a critical step in the chain of survival. It increases the chances of long-term survival for victims of sudden cardiac arrest. The bill is before the House and Senate to ensure that high school students are trained in hands-only CPR is a first step in a generational change in citizen training, capabilities, and behavior. We need to save more lives, reduce the cost to society, and the pain and suffering to families, friends, and co-workers alike. We need more bystanders that are both trained and motivated to respond when someone is struck down with cardiac arrest. Let's get this bill moving now.
Thank you for sharing your story, Paul. And thank you for your service to the community. There is no doubt CPR saves lives. I am living proof. Paul is living proof, and so many others here in the audience. Now it's your turn to explain to lawmakers why learning CPR in schools will put thousands of lifesavers into our community. Nearly half the Senate added their names as co-sponsors. The House bill has 49 co-sponsors, and it is widely bipartisan. We have the political support. We certainly have the public support. So let's tell our elected officials we've waited long enough. Now is the time to pass this bill. Let's give them that not-so-gentle nudge. With your voice, we can make today the most successful advocacy day the American Heart Association has ever experienced. Thank you for meeting with your elected officials, for sharing your story, and for participating in the legislative process. We can't do it without you. This concludes today's press conference. If the media has any questions, we'll be happy to take them.